Welcome back to the Dhane and Josh Show, presented by Milk for Health.
Yeah, it's been a while since we last checked in. We've had a ton of fun over the summer, and we got a lot to talk about and a bunch of great guests lined up. So stay tuned.
Joke's on you, just Josh and I.
Yep, no guests for this episode, but we do have a bit of an announcement to make. We're bringing on our boy, our friend, producer Kurt in the building. So thank you, Kurt, for jumping
PK,
with
we
us.
call him, or we're gonna start calling him.
I'm always hiding behind the camera, so now glad to be in front here with you guys.
I know. You've been with us, and you've been the man behind the phone and a lot of the scripts and stuff. So it's good to have you here with us now and keeping us out of trouble. Because
I'm always your fact checker, so anytime you need stats or anything, I got you.
Listen, we're gonna be calling on you a lot, so we definitely appreciate it. But
Let's get into it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's been a long summer. A bunch of different things going on. You got married or something?
Wait, so did you?
Yeah.
Which your marriage came first? I do know this,
Yeah.
but we had a few other teammates that got married too. So maybe we should shout out them and let them talk about them for a second. First.
Yeah. Who was first? Who
I
first
think
got married?
you might have been first, and then Nick Weiss,
and then Weiser.
then myself, or am I missing somebody else?
My little brother.
Your little
got
brother,
married.
yeah.
Taylor got married.
My stepbrother.
Yeah.
Or not so stepbrother.
Yeah,
sorry.
which might have been one of the best man speeches of all time.
Yeah. We'll get into that in a second.
Yeah. But yeah, and then
I mean, just to talk about a few things, like I love going to weddings. I feel like it's the best time, like just in the sense where like you don't see a bunch of people and now you're familiar with the people. Like a lot of Bandits guys at Weiser's wedding, either former or guys that play on our team now, and it's kind of nice to like reunite with them and kind of have some fun.
Well, what's actually hilarious though is like you see everyone at very rare form. Right. Like everyone's just, letting their hair down, having a great time. Their significant others are also having a great time. Like the one that sticks out to me is Pri and Jackie. They're always having a great time.
Yes.
If
you need to get an invite wedding guests, sneaky one, it's Pri and Jackie. Invite them to any wedding.
No matter what, I guarantee you that your wedding will be 10 times better. And even at ours, like they were incredible. We obviously were in the middle of a hurricane with our wedding.
Right. So it wasn't supposed to be hurricane season.
Yeah. The only reason we did it on that date was to avoid the hurricanes.
Right.
And apparently it was like the biggest hurricane at that time in like 20 years or something like that, something outrageous.
Right.
So of course when all the boys got there, they were all fired up. They were like, let's go. Like they're like, oh, we beat the hurricane here, which honestly, like, kudos to you guys, because if someone asked me to jump on a plane going into a hurricane, like, you know how I feel about flying.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do it.
Yeah, you definitely owe us.
Yeah.
You owe us.
But watching your guys' faces when you got to the resort and them say, hey, there's no booze for your hurricane.
I just remember talking about that, going on the flight and being like, okay, like what's going to be our first drink? What are we going to do when we get down there? What's it like? What's a play kind of thing like that? And then boom, hit us. And I feel bad for yourself and Fee just like having to deal with it. It wasn't your fault.
Yeah.
But like you guys felt like it was your fault.
Yeah.
And it's tough to pay that much money and like not be able to have some alcohol on that trip. But the next day we were able to do it, and we pretended like we never drank it before in our lives. So that was we made up for it for sure.
Oh, yeah.
They say that it's good luck if it rains on your wedding day. What does it mean if you have a hurricane?
That's what I'm saying, right? Like it's got to mean something. So, and listen, if me and Fee can get through a hurricane wedding, I'm pretty confident in our relationship, because there was definitely some dark moments there. But again, like like Steve and Jackie were insane. They were like body surfing in the waves in the middle of the hurricane, just having a great time. So shout out, Steve and Jackie and everyone else that made it down there. It was definitely a special time. But it felt like it was like a couple months later. But your wedding obviously comes not too much longer.
Yeah. It was crazy. I mean, realistically, for those that didn't know, we got married right during World Lacrosse. There's never a good time being a lacrosse player. And I remember when Worlds was kind of set back 2 weeks before that. Yeah. And then they told us, hey, it got switched. So at the time I was like, I'm not telling my fiance at the time that it got switched. I'm just going to miss Worlds and be done with it. And I remember finally bringing it up to her and she's like, I guess we can switch it again. And that's what lacrosse wives have done their whole lives, is just kind of fit around our schedule. So thank you to every lacrosse wife out there, especially mine. But I remember obviously having our wedding, missing the first game of Worlds.
Yeah, which was crazy. Which for me, man, it was tough because like I've never been, selected for a Team Canada box.
Right.
So I was nervous going into it.
Well, I felt bad for you guys for like having to miss it for me. So I appreciate it. I never said thank you, but thank you.
But like for me, it was like, I don't know, I'm very like routine orientated, and like when I'm in something, I like to just be in it, right? So like, that first game, I think we played England, where we missed. Like I would have loved to have been there just to kind of, get my bearings in it, get used to the boys, because obviously I wasn't at tryouts because I missed tryouts for my wedding.
Right.
But so, going from your wedding and having a great time, and then, getting out at 9 a.m. to drive to a game.
Yeah, it was definitely a fog. I just remember everybody at my wedding being like, you're not actually playing tomorrow. You're not actually playing tomorrow. I'm like, no, I am. And my party trick that wasn't very smart is I would slam my drink right in front of them every time they would ask me that question. So that caught up to me really quick. But it was amazing. It worked out. Again, props to my wife now, Kara, because she let me go the next day. It's pretty fitting that you get married with somebody and then you're gone for a week and I don't see her till the finals. So
what a honeymoon.
Yeah, Utica, New York, beautiful. But honestly, it was lucky that it was in Utica, New York, because it was close enough that we could drive. It was a long drive, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
And then just briefly, let's talk about our first few shifts in that game.
Oh my God,
it was a battle.
So for some, and like, it's funny because for us, it's like we're walking out onto the floor, and I think we were supposed to be like ball team 2, right? And you might have been on 1, but I think me and you were 2.
Yeah.
But so first shift, they're like ball team 2. I'm like, what? Like, why are you calling ball team 2?
Yeah.
Like, number 1 goes first.
Yeah.
And so, literally, first shift of the game, Wiz, wins it to himself, throws it to someone. Teeter comes off the bench, gets the pass. I'm in the corner. He throws it to me. I catch it and then go to look. But I didn't actually catch it. It just went right past my ear, hammering against the glass, and pretty much turned the ball over. So I went sprinting after the ball. And literally, everyone else, saw that I, messed up and missed the pass, and they were starting to change, which, being smart lacrosse players, I managed to track down the ball and got it back, and then went to, pass to my teammates, and everyone was gone. So it was a 3-on-1, and I just remember getting just drilled and just like, cross-checked in the face, and then like standing up and being like, what is going on? And then I think literally like 2 shifts later.
No, it wasn't. It was the same shift. It was loose ball off the draw. I go to scoop it, and that's when we get possession of it.
Yeah.
And I scoop it, and I see somebody coming to run at me and clip me enough where I got a huge Charlie horse, and I pass to you. You do your thing, and I just remember like limping to the bench, me and you, both of us limping and being like, this is going to be a long game. And you know what? It's funny because we've always been those players where big moments we like to try to take it over. And I remember being up quite a bit that game, like 9-2 at one point, and then them making a comeback. And I remember standing up at one point and be like, okay, let's go take this game over. Like, it was probably 9-8 at this time, and sitting right back down and be like, don't do too much. Like, this isn't the time. Don't, you're hungover, sit back down. So again, we made it through. I've never been so hungover in my life, but it was an amazing experience, and one that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Yeah, no, it was. It really was truly incredible. I think they knew. I mean, they had to have had.
Oh yeah, some of them were invited to my wedding.
Yeah, they're probably like, "Hey, we know that they came right from Dane's wedding. Like, let's make it a point to make it a long night from the very beginning," and they did.
Yeah, and I'm upset that they didn't even show up. They could have been with me, but no hard feelings. But yeah.
So kind of moving on. You've obviously, I feel like you've been, for us, it's been a while since you've kind of moved into your place, but it's been a long road for you to be building this house. You're finally into the house. I feel like things are kind of starting to like come together. Talk us through that whole process and what it was like.
Well, I mean, first off, when you talk about moving into a brand new house, exactly how you want to build it, you think once it's done, the projects are done. But my wife never told me that we had other projects in store. And you know what? I think it's a little bit harder than being roommates with you and owning a house together with you. I feel like it was pretty even keel. Never complained about messy floors or just anything at all. If there is an issue with our house, we'd be like, we'll fix it later, where that doesn't fly with the wife now. So it's been an ongoing project, but again, we're getting closer every time we do a project. It's exciting, whether it be concrete for the back or for our driveway.
You got
a hot tub now, and
you're living the life.
And I built my basement around a golf simulator, so that's being built too. And I think my wife's now starting to figure out that she'll probably never see me again. So she gets pretty upset with me when I tell her every night I'm going to sit in the hot tub. She's like, "Really? Do you need to do that?" And yeah, I do have to do that. So,
babe, it's part of the job.
Yeah. Once she figures out the boys, we'll have boys' night probably 5 times a week. She won't like that either. But
I'm not paying for no golf simulator membership, by the way. Just so we're both on the same page.
Well, I got to pay it back somehow.
Dane, are you a handyman? Are you doing this stuff yourself, or are you hiring somebody?
Do I look like a handyman,
No,
Kurt?
you don't at all.
Well, that is the correct answer. That is the correct answer. You know what? When I do build say a shelf or
a dresser or something, it turns out backwards.
I get pretty frustrated with that. Yes, it does sometimes. I do usually miss one thing and then I got to redo it. There'll be times where this year specifically, I was on a building rant where build one thing and I was like, oh my God, this turned out amazing. So I was like, okay, I got to build something else. And that happened for about a day, and that's it for me. My wife's brother, so my brother-in-law, he built our house.
Wow.
Shout out Eagle Peak Construction. There you go.
Great plug.
Thank you.
I was gonna say it's beautiful.
Yeah.
He crushed it. So
he probably gets annoyed every 10 minutes me calling him, being like, how do I fix this? Just little things that you should be able to handy. I don't think she knew that I wasn't that unhandy.
Have you broken anything that he's built yet? Because that's an awkward call when you call him up and say, "Hey, that siding that you put up on my wall, I kind of accidentally ripped it off."
100%. Yeah. I don't know if you've broken anything, but he's definitely had a couple calls where he got stuck in the ditch outside of his house.
Yes,
he had to get pulled out.
He's basically, you could say, my third roommate. Yeah. He's over quite a bit, but he's amazing, and no complaints from him thus far. It's still early days, but again, he's great at what he does, and his crew is amazing, and I can't thank him enough.
Yeah, no, he crushed it. And Dane the Builder, I don't know if that'll be your new nickname, but we'll take a second and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. So just to kind of jump right into it, you've been, having a crazy summer. Obviously you went and won another Mann Cup with Six Nations. Congrats. You've built yourself quite a resume lately. I feel like you just keep winning.
Hype me up. No, I appreciate it. You know what? This is my third one. Not a big deal. But no, last year I wouldn't consider. I kind of helped out with a finger or two.
Yeah.
That one was amazing to be a part of, that they invited me. For those that you don't know, I was playing the PLL, and then our season ended, so I got asked to play for Six Nations during the Mann Cup. And
guy might have thrown the game in the PLL. Too,
no, never happened. But I played 4 games in the Mann Cup, and we ended up winning out in New West, your hometown.
I know, it was in my barn. I was watching. I was like, man, I should be going to play for New West or something.
Yeah,
trying to figure that out. But
I did play defense that series too.
You also said that like going from obviously PLL into that series was one of the most physical things you've ever dealt with.
Oh my goodness, I remember going into the locker room last year, and from PLL to there, like a week off, and then right into it, and seeing all these guys getting dressed and realizing that you pad up a little bit more during summer ball than you do in the NLL. So that was a rude awakening. Luckily, I was playing defense, but I still came out with a lot of bruises and bumps, but that's why they call it the Mann Cup. And I get a lot of chirps from Brandon Bomberry, who plays for Georgia Swarm. He always gives it to me because I showed up and I won a Mann Cup. So thank you, Brandon Bomberry. I appreciate it.
What So, fast forward to this year, it's your first full year playing, full-time summer ball. What were, the major differences from playing PLL and then playing summer ball, like travel-wise, all that stuff? Yeah,
I mean, it was a good experience. I feel like I earned it this year, which is nice. I didn't get as many dirty looks showing up, but it was awesome. I used to play in the MSL for many years, and at one point I was playing in both leagues, and it's
which is crazy, by the way. Yeah, people used to do that.
Yeah, it's to look back at it. Yes, it's crazy, but the experience. I love the PLL and I love the MSL, and you obviously have to make a decision that's best for your family. And luckily enough, like for the MSL, we drove to games, and
but
we didn't play on weekends.
It's got to be a grind to go up to Peterborough, though. Was that a little bit different than? Yeah,
driving 3-4 hours to a game and on a weekday isn't the most ideal situation.
Especially when you have to work in the morning.
Exactly. But no matter what league you're in, it's tough, right? And finding those happy mediums. You travel like crazy during the PLL yourself, and you're exhausted in that sense. And I don't know, it's just it was different for sure this summer, and luckily we were able to win a Mann Cup from it, and that was a grind. Half the season again I played defense for majority of it, and then ended up switching to offense. And there's so many talented players. It's pretty cool to kind of play with a lot of guys that you play against in the winter. So
it was insane. Your offense was like an NLL All-Star team.
Yeah.
You look at yourself, Lyle Thompson, Randy Stats. Who else was there? Jammer,
Shane Jackson. Eli McLaughlin. Sundown.
Audie was there for the first part of the season.
Brandon Bomberry.
It was just loaded.
Yeah.
It was just loaded with offensive talent. So it was fun to watch. I found myself turning on the games more and checking up on my buddy and making sure no one was touching you too hard, or else I would have to come out and lay some hands on some guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny because people talk about those in any sport, right? Like you have an all-star team and you guys should win, but it's almost harder to win.
Creates more pressure, for sure.
Yes, there's a lot of pressure, but it's harder to win in the sense where there's one ball out there. So you have to put your ego aside and play together. And I think, we'll get into it, but we might as well get into it now. Is obviously representing Team Canada, all these talented players and one ball. Everybody's like, oh, how's Canada stack, but it's okay, one ball, how are we going to figure out how are you going to be a role player on this team? You're going to change your game a little bit, but it's for your country, and it was an amazing experience for myself, and I'm sure for you as well.
Yeah, it was funny because it was you're playing. It's like for me, it's like I'm sharing the left side with a guy like Jeff T, and it's like I'm gonna get this guy the ball so he can make decisions. And he's probably one of the best decision makers in the league with the ball, and very rarely makes a mistake. And but it's funny though, because like there's times where throughout the game you're like you kind of keep passing off the buck a little bit, and then it's like, okay, hold up, like I gotta still leave my print on this game, and and make sure to there's a reason why I'm here as well. So it is hard to find that happy medium of like being a team player and whatnot, and then also knowing like, okay, maybe we've struggled for a little bit to score. Maybe it's time for me to step up and just make a play.
Right.
Right.
And everyone talks about it, right? Like, it's like, okay, why is this guy on the team instead of this guy? And you can go back and forth and choose whoever you want, but at the end of the time, it's not an all-star team. It's the best fit. And Glenn Clark and Eddie Como did a great job of bringing the right fit in, I feel like. And we're able to be successful. And just to kind of go off that a little bit was how fun was it to play on the power play there?
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And it's cool, right? Because like you get a little bit of a taste of what other teams do around the league, and even being coached by Mouser, it's like, man, like the things that the plays that he runs and stuff, and it's funny because like a lot of them are similar plays to what we do. There's different different names to it, but it was definitely very different and cool because you learn a ton, right? Like a lot of these other guys are so smart, and you can pull little things back and might steal a couple of plays or two from them and bring it to the Bandits boys, and it's funny because in turn you hear about like, oh yeah, like we took these plays from you guys, right, which it's obviously a shout out to JT and our coaching staff, and it's funny because everyone kind of takes a little bit of something from there that they see different teams doing, and it's really cool. So and then just to like 3 all-star goalies, defense that's just out of this world, like. It's funny because you find yourself being nervous, going into some of these games, and then you look back on it and you're like, I mean, listen, like we were so stacked, like handpicking, a bunch of guys, and shout out to USA because they really proved themselves and have shown that like they're really at that next step, and super athletic. Guys like Tom Schreiber and a couple other guys weren't even playing, and it's going to be really fun to watch that rivalry continue to grow in the next few years. So
is it weird like facing these guys in the regular season, NLL? You're like your biggest rival, like you're facing Rosie, like you hate these guys, and then
you're tapping them on the pads.
A couple months later you guys are best buds playing in the game together trying to win a gold medal. Like,
it's definitely difficult, honestly, and at the end of the day, like you hate to play against these guys, and you kind of put the friendship aside, obviously when you're playing, but then when you're playing with them, it's kind of like, okay, let's try to win together because you're there for a reason, and you're trying to win the big picture. But it is different. I can't say I love it sometimes, but
it's weird because it's like you don't want to give up your secrets either, right? So it's like you don't really like expose a lot of things that you do, and like even for me, it's like if I'm shooting on one of these guys in practice, like I'm like kind of holding back a little bit, right? So I'm like, I don't know if I want to show this guy, this trick in the bag. But then at the same time, it's cool because like you can also study them and see what they're doing.
And that on the flip too, like there's a whole thing with Belter and Pre. They're going at it in the championship game. Like I know tempers flare, but like you guys are going to be competing for a three-peat next year, and they're headbutting each other and getting stitches out here. It's like it's crazy. I see Belter a couple months later, and he's like, "Yeah, I got stitches on my face." I'm like, dude, like that's your captain.
I mean it got pretty gutless, right? And I think players do a good job of understanding that like what happens on the floor, stays on the floor, and a lot of times it's just used as like a scare tactic or ways to get into people's heads more so than like I actually don't like you, right? And I'm sure there's times where it's like I actually don't like this guy, but like even like in that situation, like Pre and Belter going at each other, and like there was definitely some words exchanged, and you can see Belter be like, am I going to play another game for the Bandits? But it's, but then after the game, they're hugging each other and slapping up. And, I think that's part of, the really beautiful part about this game is the friendships that it creates. And, even though you go to war with each other, at the end of the day, it's about building great relationships as well. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, last thing I'm going to say about this stuff is how cool it was to obviously win with you. You've never been a part of the box. McKay was on the team. Priolo was on the team. And, of course, I can't forget Teddy. Being a part of it. It's amazing to kind of bring that winning mentality to them, but also be a part of it together and move forward with it. And obviously we had a short season and we can kind of get into it, but we'll be right back.
All right, and we're back. So obviously after Team Canada, it feels like that ends the last week of September. There's literally 6 weeks until the season starts up, and it feels like we're doing our team runs, 300s, all that stuff. Literally, I think you guys are doing it literally the next week. So talk me through, because we both have a little bit different of recovery schedules and things that we do, but talk to me about what you've done that you feel like has made you successful in the past years and why you do it.
Well, first off, I want to thank Milk for Health.
Cheers, buddy.
Wouldn't be where I am without these guys, so thank you.
Milk, you know what it says?
Strong bones, right?
Yep. Yeah, good eyes too.
Oh, I haven't heard that one.
I just made that up.
Okay, well, I mean, it's been tough. It's been crazy. Started my career, we didn't win much, so we'd be done early, and I could recover. And who would have thought? Like, obviously, I didn't take that. I took it for granted a little bit. Like, I wish I would have recovered a little bit more back then.
210 Dane.
Yeah, chicken parm Dane. But I mean, now it's like you must be doing something right. Obviously, if you're playing this long. And not having an off season. That being said, it's hard. I got to thank Buffalo Cryo, Jake. He's been amazing in keeping us. Dave in Canada, he's been amazing, and
he's really helped me the last couple months.
Brian, UBMD.
UBMD. UBMD. He's obviously awesome. He's helped me come back from many injuries as well. And
I think we just have the best medical staff all around. Everybody tries to help us, and I think that's why we're successful.
Big time. And like for me, another one on top of that is acupuncture.
Oh yeah, can't forget
Dan.
Yeah,
Dan the man
at our wedding.
Exactly right. So not only has, if anyone who knows me, I hate needles. And so when you were first getting needled by him, like I was like, nah, I'm good. And kept having problems with different things, and he was a guy that like finally went in. And like I walked out of there a new man. So
shout out Bosa.
He's awesome and just a great person as well. So I feel like
that's got to be so tough for you guys though, because like you're not like you guys are professional athletes, but it's not like your normal MLB, NFL, NHL. Like those guys, they play from this time to this time, and they know that they got this time off. Like you guys go from NLL to PLL to you play Six Nations, like nonstop. Like you guys are 12 months out of the year you're playing. Like,
and then there's the world team.
Like your body's got to be just.
It's tough. It's definitely tough. You know what? But
that's why you got a hot tub now.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, you have to enjoy it, and you're only playing for so long, and it sucks at the time for sure. Your body, some mornings are tougher than others to get out of bed. I can barely walk down my stairs sometimes. I wish I built a bungalow some days, but
just build yourself an elevator. You'll be fine.
Right. Yeah.
Call up your brother-in-law.
Call on if you're listening. Elevator next time. Thank you. But. At the end of the day, like there's no more rewarding of a feeling than winning championships, I think it starts with the preparation leading up to training camp, and and it's just funny like to talk about training camp because back in the day, we used to use training camp to get in shape. Not me personally, because I was a young kid, but all the older guys would be like, "Oh, like they're not running 150s, they're not running 300s, they're not doing anything. They're just okay. We're gonna show up to training camp. Okay, let's get in shape now." And then by the season, they might be by halfway through the season, they're probably in shape. Where I think everybody at Impact and got us like ready for the season, and I feel like we're in the best shape that we ever have been. And I think this year training camp in general has been, hey, let's go over what we did last year, what made us successful, a lot of learning, which is sometimes tough for us because we already know that kind of stuff. But I think that's going to prepare us for early in the season.
Yeah, no, big time. And it also, it's felt like, JT has kind of trusted that conditioning and all that stuff that we did leading up to camp so that, we don't get bagged as much. Because in prior years, it's just been like, we're going to bag you guys. Like, I know none of you guys are actually putting the work to get right. And, I think he was going after more of a few guys, like the Sweetses of the world. But
hope you're getting healthy, Sweets.
Yeah. Can't wait to see you soon. But now it feels like, he trusts that, he sees that, guys are putting the work and seeing the times week by week. And
I never thought that Nick Weiss would have a protein bottle after a workout or after a training camp session.
Yeah, he's asking me, he's like, "Hey, can you go fill up my my water bottle with amino acids?" I was like, "You know what amino acids are?"
So a lot of guys have come a long way. So
the culture is starting to change.
Baby step, I know,
which is awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I've been kind of taking my time getting back into training camp, nursing a few things from last year. But how are you feeling? You've played 2 games all the way through. I think we played Vegas and Georgia.
Yeah.
How are you doing? How's the body and how are you feeling playing?
I mean, the body's never 100%. I feel like it's day to day. I mean, I don't think I'll ever be 100% ever again, which is fine with me. I understand that, but it's great to be back with the guys. I feel like from day one of training camp, I felt like we could go out and play and be successful. And I think each week we've gotten that much better. So it's going to be nice to kind of get everybody. The team was selected this past week, and it's amazing to see new faces and a lot of familiar faces. A lot of young guys pushing for spots and stuff like that, which is incredible. And I'm just ready to get going. I wish we didn't have a first week bye.
Yeah,
I want to play.
That they do that.
I know, I hate it too.
I hate that they do that.
You would think like any other sport, professional sport, whoever wins the championship's opening night.
100%.
And that doesn't make sense to me.
Yes.
I get it, arena availability.
Yeah. And
Sabres went on a road run here, right?
They did. They were gone, but,
The Sabies fellas.
Well. You think I make those decisions?
Yeah. I'm looking at you. You better, go up the ladder here. Start making some calls.
For you guys, what does camp look like? Because, it's not as public as maybe like an NFL training camp. Like, I know it's a grind. Like, you guys, it's not in Buffalo either, so you guys are traveling for that. Like, kind of give people kind of a peek behind the curtain of what it might look like.
Yeah, so a lot of it has been at, and especially for a lot of the teams that have Ontario players or are located out east, majority of training camp starts or is held at the track up in Oakville or Six Nations. So it's a little bit weird because you're going through training camp and you're seeing other teams also there for training camp, and they have a scrimmage later on. So we're walking past Philly's practice or seeing Georgia practice or whoever it is. Toronto is having a game and stuff like that. So you're like passing with like a lot of these guys that but you're about to be competing against. So it's funny. It's a little bit awkward for sure. But yeah, it's also a grind, right? Like, so you gotta drive up, for us, it's about an hour and 15. If Dane's driving, it's like 45 minutes. But then there's guys like Pre, who, like, what is he, like 6?
Yeah, I don't even know how he does it.
He's like
not
6.
I
think he's 6.
Cam Wires is 6. He's like probably 4 on the low end, I think.
Yeah, same thing with Weiser's like 3.5, 3. like a lot of these guys are coming in and driving, a long time to come and practice for a couple practices and then getting on the road and heading home.
Yeah.
Which that's just like something that you just don't see in professional sports.
Right.
It doesn't happen.
Right. They usually have a PJ or something like that.
Yeah. But also, like they're more so. It's like for the Bills, like everyone pretty much lives in Buffalo.
Right.
So like when they come in here, they go to whatever their sessions are or whatnot, and then even if they're renting a place or they're just like 8 minutes home.
Right.
Right. So
yeah, I feel like the culture's changed around here. I mean, Scott Loeffler, Chugger have done a great job of bringing people here in Buffalo. And like, there's probably like more than half the team that live in the market, which is amazing. We just got to figure out a way
that we can use our arena.
We can use an arena in general, whether it be ours or something else, where we could practice there. Kind of have a track in Buffalo, New York. So any investors out there listening, that would be huge. That'd go a long way.
That would be massive. If we could have our own facility where we can go, because that's obviously going up to the track and stuff, like it would be so nice to be able to go have a place to shoot and all that stuff. Which, to be honest with you, like we have a place to shoot right now out in Hamburg.
Yep.
Full circuit. Shout out to Charlie and the boys, and obviously Scott, paying for it as well.
that helps.
So, and that's honestly been a big thing for the last couple of years too. Is like, they've invested into that, and it feels like if we're shooting 2-3 times a week, like that's a big difference.
Oh yeah.
You feel way more confident with your stick, and it helps kind of carry over into the game. So,
talk to us a little bit about, what you expect from this year. Obviously, a lot of rumblings about the three-peat, or I don't know. Are you preparing any different? Probably not, right? And like, if so, like, how do you get that noise out of your head? Like, how do you just prepare on like the season?
Yeah, if you look at like the last 4 years, it's always been something that's happened in the past. Whether it was after we lost to Calgary. It was like going to the season. It was like, you guys just lost to Calgary, big upset, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, then it's Colorado. Well, we lose to Colorado. It's like, well, you just lost 2 in a row. Right? And like, it doesn't change the way you look at things, right? And then all of a sudden you win one, and it's like, oh yeah, you guys won. Like, is there pressure for the back-to-back? It's like, I'm just going to keep doing what I need to do, that I feel like, makes me successful and makes our team successful, right? So, the whole three-peat thing, like, that's just what's at stake, right? But at the end of the day, you're chasing one championship.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to for me, is like, I'm going to do my very best, and at the end of the day, every season's so different, right? Like, over the last 4 years, like, we've went, had one of the best records and lost, right? And then last year, didn't even think we were going to make the playoffs and won.
Yeah.
So like, I think at this point, it's just like understanding that like this season is going to be unique in its own, and knowing that the end goal is to win a championship.
Right.
It doesn't matter what you did in the past. It's just going to continue to fuel you and continue to motivate you to chase something.
Yep.
But ultimately, that's just what it is, man. It's like, it's time to chase.
Yeah, I feel like my mentality isn't even thinking about a championship. Honestly, it's obviously easier to say said than done. It's like game by game, but like the standings nowadays, where there's no East, there's no West. It's just like you said, you just have to make playoffs, and every game's that much more important. I think at the beginning of the year, it comes down to obviously winning your matchups, but also just making playoffs. Once you make playoffs, anything can happen, and you've noticed it throughout the years, from when I started playing to last year and all this stuff. So it's making playoffs. Anything can happen, whether you're the 8th seed, the 1st seed. It's one game, and then it's a series, and that's what makes lacrosse exciting, right? You just have to make playoffs, and may the best team win.
Yeah.
Is there any, like, is the pressure any different? I know you say that there's no pressure, but like, is there? You got the first one, you got the monkey off your back. You know, like, you lose. I think you lost 3 in a row. Like,
yeah. That one there was pressure,
right? But now you have the 2 championships. Like, can you kind of just go into the season like, let's just do it. Like, we've done it before. Let's just do it again. Like, is it like maybe like a cocky sort of, like, not cocky, but like you have the confidence, at least you have the swagger.
Yeah. And I think it's understanding that, like, you know, and this is what it's tough, because there's like, it's a healthy balance, right? Of like, you know, being confident in yourselves, being confident in your teammates and your coaches, and being confident in what we do and how we prepare, and knowing that, you know, it's a recipe for success. But also, you know, looking back at those losses and understanding how hard it is to really win, and the hurt that we went through to lose those championships was miserable. So like, I always dig back, and, you know, I've got a couple of pictures of, you know, me sitting there watching Colorado win on our turf, that I go back to, you know, go and find that same drive again. But also, like, you know, you're also chasing history, right? Like, there's only been one other team to three-peat before, so it's like you use that as motivation, right? And it's like, no, man, like we want to be hungry, and we know that, you know, guys like Bucky, guys like Vino, right? Like,
who coincidentally already did the three-peat once. So
yeah,
Paulie and Vino,
yeah.
Paul, like, right. So like these guys came back for one reason, is to go win another one, right? So I think that's where I'm at with that,
I feel like you need to know what it takes to win. I think we do, for the most part. Obviously we do.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of things have to go right in a season. There's injuries, there's luck, there's a bunch of stuff that has to fall into place. And obviously at the end of it is knowing what it takes. And I think we have that recipe. It's just now figuring out everything else that comes with it. So.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? And it's like, you know, these other teams, you know, have gotten a lot better. You know, obviously with Panther City folding and the whole dispersal draft, like, you're looking around the league and you're like, man, like, there's some teams that have really loaded up. You know, you look at a team like Colorado who, you know, pull Will Malcolm out of the hat, and you're just like, how's that okay? Right. like we all know what kind of team Colorado is. Yeah. Like, they, you know, wind up, you know, pulling that out, and
Philly gets a goalie, and then like 5 other players that I just noticed that, like, from this dispersal, it's crazy.
Also, Ottawa,
first overall pick.
Yeah, Philly. Exactly. They also get, you know, Brendan
O'Neill.
They get O'Neill, and then is it Demude?
They got like Sellers, Jokum, Liam Patton,
your buddy, Tuna.
Oh, Anthony Malcolm. They have a whole different, like, they probably have 6 new D guys.
Yeah, Callum Crawford.
Crazy. They just picked up Callum Crawford. Yeah. Like, they're going to be a new looking team.
And then you look at, you know, even, I mean, obviously Toronto is always going to be up there, but, like, you know, teams like Georgia, who are, you know, we went into overtime with them in the playoffs last year, who are strong, and, you know, Dauber's a great goalie, and then also Ottawa, man. Like, Ottawa's another good one where all of a sudden, you know, they make a trade for Higgins.
Goal, yeah.
And, you know, and they got Teeter over there. They got a good group and good coaching. So it's
that's what makes the NLL fun.
And not to kind of mention, like, the new beast in the West is Vancouver.
Right.
Vancouver is another team where, you know, they have a full year of, you know, Mouse behind the helms, and we know what kind of preparation he does and how he runs a tight ship, and brought in a bunch of, you know, Western guys who are animals out the back end, and his offense always runs, and who knows if he makes a move for old who's that goalie that's sitting on the sidelines? That's kind of trash.
Free Del Bianco. Free Delbs.
No, listen. If they get him, then it's scary. It really puts that whole team together. And we saw it firsthand. He can steal games for you. So it's gonna be an interesting season. So buckle up. I can't wait. I'm excited to get back out there for sure. Is that it? Do we got anything else?
Do you want to plug maybe our home opener here coming up?
Ooh,
a couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few.
I don't know how many tickets are left, but you know.
There's
not much.
Yeah, I heard the season ticket holders have taken over all the 100 and 200 level, which is amazing. We want to thank you guys, first of all, for being our backbone. It's incredible each year. It's been amazing, and like to think about having regular season games being sellouts is just gives you goosebumps thinking about it. But obviously
December 27th,
Bandits 28th, buddy. How do you not know that?
That's why you brought me on to fact check it.
Yeah.
Is it the 28th?
December 28th.
6:30. Got moved to 6:30.
Isn't December 7th our first game?
December 7th against Rochester.
That's why I got the 7 in my head.
So we know you'll be traveling to Rochester as well. We're looking forward to that. Obviously, I don't love playing in that arena, but I do love that our fans show up. So that's pretty much a home game. So December 7th first, but then December 28th, 6:30 you said, which is amazing. You guys
Banner raising night, get to watch that thing go up into the rafters. Ooh, gives me goosebumps just thinking about it, man. So it is really truly insane, like to see everyone just like rally behind. And I've got guys coming up to me. I was in Best Buy the other day, and they were like, hey, I'm gonna be there 28. I'm like, what? like let's go. He's like, yeah, we're racing that banner. I'm like, yeah, we are.
I hope so.
Shout out everyone in Bandit Land. We love you guys, and can't wait to go after another one.
Yes.
All right, that's it for today. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, and feel free to comment if you guys have someone that you want to see on our pod. We got a lot of great guests lined up, but always room for some new ones. So hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, whatever it is. Make sure you stay tuned and stay dialed.
And thank you, obviously, Milk for Health, for being a great sponsor. We'll see you soon.